Somebody gets injured and they wait a year to contact you because they can't afford not to work.
Okay, so the bottom line is this. If they're injured on the job, if you are injured on the job, you should report it right away to your employer.
Right.
Make sure that you do that. So if you have an employer, you need to do that. You need to report it. You need to file with workers' comp. Okay, very important.
But sometimes the nature of an injury can be aggravated further by continuing working. So you can hurt yourself and not realize even how bad the injury is because you've continued to work. It's not that bad. I'll get through it. You go back to work that week and keep working, and just aggravate the injury to the point where you can no longer work.
So there's a couple of questions.
And then your boss says, "Hey, you were fine, for a week or so after you complained about your injury."
Can you go back to work? Do people go back to work when they're hurt? It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And you're not wrong. People do what they have to do. I tell my clients, listen, I don't tell anybody stay out of work.
Right.
If you can't work, of course, stay home, get better.
Right.
But if you have to go to work, like many people do, you go to work and you see if you can cut it.
But does that reduce the severity of the injury? And at the same time, will that reduce the monetary compensation that one might receive?
It might. It depends on the scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, I have people that have tried to go back to work. They didn't realize how hurt they were.
Right.
The insurance company now for the third party is defending the case saying, well, your person went back and worked 3 days, the 3 days after. Okay?
Sure.
Well, they didn't realize that they had such a bad spinal injury that was going to require them to have surgery.
Right.
Okay. And they wanted to have surgery. So, of course, we fight, and we oftentimes fighting with the insurance company later when we're making that recovery, let's say, against the third party. Let's say there was a third party that I could sue, and they're like, well, your client couldn't have been that hurt. They went to back to work for 3 days.
Right.
Listen, I've argued to a jury, and this is what I've done to juries, many juries. I stand up in front of juries and I say, look, my client doesn't apologize for going back to work. That's what good, decent people do.
Right.
Good, decent people go back to work. Good, decent people are not trying to make something worth more from a lawsuit standpoint. Should a person who can try to do this, for a person that can pick up the pieces and at least, maybe they don't have 100% of themselves, but they have 75%. Should that person now not come to work? Should they be forced not to work just so that they can have a viable case? Or should they now be able to come back to work and you now hear this case and you get to award what you think is fair and reasonable based upon what they have left?
Right.
Okay. And so we run into that. Okay. We run into that and they defend those cases. And I actually love people. I love people who do the best they can about trying to get back to work. Some people can't.
Right.
But the people that go back to work, I've said to juries, what would they have said to you if this person didn't go back to this sedentary job? They'd call that person a phony and a malingerer.